This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk about everything bass fishing. There's a lot of things to talk about because everyone's trying to drop their pre-ICAST stuff before ICAST. So guys used to drop it like at ICAST and then you could get it like a year later. And then they started to do it to where you could get it quickly after ICAST. And then there were some of the companies that started to do pre-ICAST, and then a lot of companies started to do Bassmaster Classic releases, and now we have a mixture of Bassmaster Classic releases, pre-ICAST releases, ICAST releases, and post-ICAST releases. Probably the biggest one that majority of individuals were looking forward to is the one that Randy Blocker would refer to as job security. That's the newest updates to forward-facing sonar with Garmin, and they came out 48 hours ago, and there's only one guy to have on. There's a lot of stuff going on in the fishing world and stuff. We'll get back to the rest of this week. Hope everybody had a good 4th of July. We got stuck in Salt Lake City for a day, ended up having to drive into Oklahoma City, which is, we live 30 minutes from Oklahoma City, rent a car at midnight from Enterprise, then drive to DFW to pick both of our vehicles up, then drive back to Oklahoma City. So that's why there was no show on Monday. Then Tuesday was a life maintenance day. I got the pressure washer working. We did a bunch of business stuff. Just one of those. We hadn't had it for a couple of months, but we're back. This dropped. So there's one guy when it comes to all things electronics, forward facing, what's actually out there about it, what he's seen. That's Scott Palmer from the Bass Tank. We have him on, one of the guys when it comes to utilizing the companies and sponsors who support BTL, where it's, I believe the team term is symbiotic relationship. Like, I called him yesterday and I said, I don't care what you're doing. Like, I have you on the BTL roster for moments like this, where you can come in and tell us everything that is actually happening with the LVS 44, the 42 HD, the LiveScope 2 system, the rumors of no black boxes, all sorts of stuff. So that was, I'm rusty. I haven't done this in a couple days. A long-winded way of saying Scott Palmer from the Bass Tank is on to answer all of your questions and tell you everything you don't know. A lot of information out there, Scott. Thanks for jumping on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been a crazy 24 hours, as you can imagine. But before we do that, do you have all your fingers and toes, from 4th of July? Do we need to do a digit count?
Yeah. So I went to the Stadium of Fire. I've always been, you know me.
Yeah.
Do you know me? You think I'm the type of guy who's going to go try to figure out sketchy fireworks, or am I going to let a professional do it and enjoy it from a safe distance?
I think you're more of an enjoy it from a safe distance and
Yes.
let the nut jobs like me go do the fire show.
Yes,
fire
we went to the Stadium of Fire at Provo, Utah, the BYU stadium, which is really pretty, really cool. I will venture to say that I was probably at. Remember where we are. We're at Utah, Provo, BYU Stadium of Fire. I was at the most orderly.
Yeah.
I did not know that 30, 40,000 people, however many were there, could be so like there. It wasn't a single person that did anything that was out of line. Like we were walking in, there were like 15,000 people around, and I mean, everyone was just standing there, like there was no tomfoolery of any sort, which is right up my alley. The older I get, the less tomfoolery I like to partake in. So it was fantastic. It's like the biggest stadium fireworks show in the country, but then it was a disaster getting home. But then this news dropped and I was like, all right, like I said, what was my message to you yesterday? I was like, you are coming on BTL tomorrow, like figure it out.
I don't even think it was that. It was BTL tomorrow. There was no question mark. It was an exclamation mark, I think, period. I knew that was a non-negotiable. So as soon as it dropped, mind you, I was up. Like I've done this long enough. I know how like these companies tend to release things. Knowing that it was going to be an ICAST physical release, typically they announce it about a week before. Like, and so I'm like, I wonder. I've got this sneaking suspicion, that the Tuesday before, because ICAST starts next Tuesday with the on the water stuff. I'm like, I wonder. And so I got up early, just one of the few days that, me, I'm not a morning person, but I couldn't sleep because I was just like, I wonder if my theory is right. And so I got up and I was having my coffee about 5 a.m. It was 4:45 actually is what it was. I remember because I was like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to hate this later. And I go to Garmin's website, I'm checking my email because they'll email us stuff, and I'm just kind of just playing around. At 5:05, I just happened to go back to the website and I hit refresh. And there it was. And I said, oh, crap. So then I go into instant mode of going and getting the assets and, learning everything that we could officially learn. There's obviously speculation, which is, I'm sure, what we're going to talk about, try to dispel some things today. So I get my orders in, get it on the website so people can start seeing it. And then I got home about 10 o'clock last night. It just was just insane. It rivaled the 34 drop, which the 34 dropped February 22nd of 2022, just for reference. So anyone who thinks that, hey, this is constantly changing, guys, it's been over 4 years. It's been over 4 years. So this is just a natural progression, especially with technology.
All right, let's dive into it. What is it? What did they release? I think everybody has seen the Garmin commercial that everybody is posting. Everyone is posting that there's 2 new transducers. There's rumors that there's no black box anymore. For an overview, Scott, I'll kind of give you the floor and just without diving into it, because I've got questions for each one of these, just an overview of what Garmin actually announced, released, and showed the past day.
So there are 2 transducers. They are respectively called the LVS 42 HD and the LVS 44. So at a high level, the 42 HD is clearer than the 44, but its range is limited. And just by the actual physical range, you could only range this out to 125 feet, even on the screen, period. Like that is absolutely max range. Now, the effective range is going to be closer to that 80 to 85 feet. And then I don't want to say degradation, but then the screen starts getting pretty bad after that. Then I don't say pretty bad. That makes it sound like it's horrible, but it falls off pretty quick. Inside that is very impressive. And then you got the LVS 44, and that is like 125 feet. Really, really good compared to think of what your 34 looks like at 60 feet, and then double it out to 110, 120. I don't know if you want me to go this far into it, but both of them, one of the most impressive things for me seeing these on the water was the bottom. We all know what it is. There's always been the debate between, hey, this is why you use active target for bottom fish running the bottom, and I didn't disagree with that. Like that, there was a little bit of a nod to active target compared to Garmin there, but if you still know what you're doing, the Garmin overall still was king. I mean, just not even a question. But the bottom clarity on these 2, both of them, is pretty freaking impressive. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I know that's not a technical term, but that was one of the best things for me to see.
Separation for fish that are on the bottom. Yeah. One of the things that Garmin did was really pay attention to where instead of kind of molding into the bottom, to where you had some guys that were actually running it at like reverse. Remember, I went through that big thing with you about the reverse returns on the 34s and try to get the fish to actually show up underneath the bottom because it was hard to separate and things. That's one of the things that they worked on for this. Correct.
That's exactly right. And one thing looking at, say, just the 34, you might have a good bottom out to 30, 40 feet. I'm like, okay, I can see that. But as it got out, it got worse and worse and worse. It just started getting more and more fuzzy. And a rock that was this big started looking like it was this tall, that bottom tracks the distance of the effective range. And that is one of the most impressive things for both transducers. And so there's going to be a big debate. I can already tell you there's going to be a big debate. We're trying to get mine installed on my boat, so hopefully I can do some side-by-side on-screen comparisons. I'm gonna do a whole. You guys know me. I'm gonna do a whole video set on it.
The way that I'm starting to see then we're just talking about the transducers. Now we'll get to the rest of it. But this is what crossed my mind. I just dropped a tack on the floor there, but I'm not going to pick it up now. I just have to make a mental note of that, so I'm not.
You'll find it later.
Here's the way Garmin released you have the trolling motor with a spy pole with that, and there was some stuff that was like, okay, like what's with the transducer, either on the spy pole or the shaft and all that. To me, it's making sense in my head the way they are designed it, which they couldn't release it at the time, is when they came out with the spy pole, you're going to have either the 42 HD on the bottom of the spy pole or the new 44 on the bottom of the spy pole, the other transducer on your trolling motor, and therefore it is now a 2 transducer system where you can range out to 150 and further to find the fish with the 44, and then take the 42 HD once those fish get to within casting range. And they had all that planned together, but really they just released it in sections. Is that a fair assessment?
I don't know if that's truly what they meant,
Doesn't
but it
that
sure
make sense though?
But yeah, I mean, you're thinking the way I was thinking. I don't know if they truly planned it that way. Probably just because Garmin's that smart and they think that far ahead. But yeah, I mean, this is the first time that I'm really considering running 2 transducers.
Mm-hmm.
Forget about the things that I need to do to show everybody and teach. This is the first time that I've actually said, you know what, I think I'm going to run 2 transducers. I'm going to put the 44 on the trolling motor, and then I'm going to put the 42 on the spy pole. So for someone that's living in the full Garmin environment, which they don't worry too much about people that mix and match. They want you to be in a full Garmin environment, obviously. But if you have the Force Pro or the Force, the spy pole, then yeah, it makes sense that this is a way you would run it. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put the 44 on the trolling motor, and I'm going to put the 42 on the spy pole, and we're going to let her eat, because it makes a lot of sense for sure.
All right. So here's what I'm looking at. I'm pulling this up, Scott. I see no black box.
Yep.
I see no black box.
Yep.
Are we going to have to get all new units now, even though there's no black box anymore? Or are the units that we currently have going to be able to work on these things?
It kind of depends on what unit you chose, quite frankly. There is no black box. Let me confirm that right now. There is no black box. So before I get back into units, because we'll squirrel, because there's a lot to go through, obviously, let me just touch on the way this transducer connects. So if everyone will think about their black box now, there's a network cable that runs from that black box to their units. That is technically what Garmin calls a blue net. When it first was released, it was called a Garmin Marine Network Cable Small Connector. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I was going to go with that too.
That's totally what you're going to think. Well, reality is this is how forward thinking Garmin is. This was their Marine network. They call it 2.0. It's gigabit speeds, but there's a little dongle on it that changed it into the RJ45 that, looks like a big phone cable.
I'm just going to stop you there. If it's just a number or something that doesn't mean anything, continue. But if there's anything that you just said that you could turn it into layman's terms, even though it might take a little bit longer, feel free to stop. But if there's no way to dumb down the jargon, I completely understand that.
Well, I was getting ready to cut it down for you, and you interrupted me.
Okay.
I know I'm with Matt. I know I'm with you. So that network cable that goes from the black box to the units currently, thinking the current system that we had, there was a little adapter cable that was about yay long. One end had the small connector, the other one had the telephone cable. Is that layman down enough? Okay.
Yes.
That cable is a blue net cable. Now, again, in layman's terms, that's just terminology Garmin uses.
Okay.
But it was a faster cable that Garmin had already thinking ahead, knowing that this was coming, knowing that there were increased network speeds, knowing that the network communication was going to be more heavily loaded. That doesn't mean anything to you, Matt. Don't worry about it. But there's guys I know in your chat, because they reach out to me, that understand that and know what I'm talking about. So the transducer is going to have a blue net connection. So basically, it's going to look like that network cable.
Gotcha.
Now, if you've got the 9000 series, you're going to plug directly in the back. There's no dongle adapter required.
Is dongle an actual word?
It's absolutely an absolute word. There's guys that'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Dongle and adapter, that's what they're called.
We're talking about a show where we're seeing fish 200 feet in front of the boat with a dongle adapter.
That's right.
I did not see that coming 5-6 years ago. Anyway, continue.
Well, it's always been out there. Not to sidetrack this, but Humminbird, for the Helix, for their network cables, they've always had to have a dongle. That's what they call it. So this is a new term. This is just whatever. Now, the guys like me, I don't run 9000s currently. I mean, not everything on my boat. I've got GPS maps. I've got the 1643. You run the 1643. The Echo Map family guys. We still need that adapter cable that's included in this with the transducer. So it will plug directly into the unit. And if you got 9000s, you don't need the little adapter. If you have your unit, most current units that are compatible.
What do I have?
You've got the 1643.
Okay.
So we will be using that adapter to plug into the back of your unit.
Gotcha. Which ones does it not work on?
All right, so here we go. The two biggest that is going to make a lot of people upset is the 1022 and 1222. Let me put this in layman's terms. If you've got a knob and it's not touchscreen, this is not compatible. The Echo Map Gen 1s are compatible at the moment, and I need to qualify this. So they have not had an update in 3 years. I'll be honest with you, I didn't see this one coming. I don't think this was initially intended, but they had to do a network update. They released an update that I think was something to do with networking inside. And so they had to. And so it's going to be compatible now. But any future software updates, it's not going to be compatible. Basically, where it's at today is where it's going to have to stay. Or you're going to have to go to the EchoMap Ultra 2 family. The 8000 series, 10, 12, and 16 are compatible. The 17 through 24 are not. Then the 9000 series are all compatible. See, that's a big list. But now it's on video so people can come back and watch it.
And that's just because there's some features in some features in others, like that dongle thing and switch that.
No, it's just their current units. For example, the 1022 and 1222, those were never really intended for what we've used them for.
Gotcha.
Those were the cheaper way. Back when LiveScope started, there really wasn't a good option for a 10 and a 12-inch unit. The EchoMap family didn't exist, so you had to jump into the 7000 series, which was a top line, and everyone wasn't really convinced that this LiveScope thing was going to hang around. And so they said, I want to do the cheapest 10-inch unit, because it was 33% more expensive to go to a 7010 compared to a 1022 or 1222. I think those are they put those on a lot of offshore yachts, like think saltwater, where they don't have one unit, they've got multiple units at a station.
Yeah.
So they just need some good, and they have worldwide base maps. We think too much in what we think in the U.S. that we're the only ones that buy these. Those are units that Garmin sells across the world. And so those 1022s and 1222s, they're sending those to Italy. They're sending those to Europe. They're sending those, just everywhere internationally. And so there's not a real reason to keep bringing those along, because they would have to update them so much for the firmware inside, or the hardware. The 8000 series are being sunsetted, meaning they're being obsoleted because they're being replaced by the 9000 series. So they're not going to update those too much longer. Now, there's going to be support for those probably 2 to 3 years, I would think. But the 17 and 24s have been gone for a year and a half, 2 years. And so they're just not going to do an update for them. those are no longer supported.
Let's hit a couple quick questions on this stuff, and then we'll continue. Chasing Gorditas 1387. What is the reason to go without the black box now?
I mean, there's a lot of different reasons to not have the black box. I think installation, some ease of installation is probably one of the check boxes that they wanted to accomplish. I also think that this is the musings of Scott. This is my opinion and my opinion only. I think maybe they were seeing some overheating issues because the electronics inside the black box doesn't take up very much of that black box. I don't know if anyone's ever pulled one apart. Yeah, as you can imagine, I have. You would think that the whole thing is just full of circuitry, and it's not. The majority of that black box is a heat sink. And then we're putting these in rod lockers. We're putting them, I've seen guys stick them on the deck of their boat because they moved them around. So there's a lot of heat that these would have to dissipate without much airflow. And so I think there's been some overheating issues, maybe not overheating, but heat causing issues in the black box. Again, that's just one of my theories. So now the electronics, if you're able to put it inside the transducer, guess what? It's in the water. Inherently, it's going to be cooler than the outside air, and then they shut it off when it comes out of the water. It's got a out of water cutoff. You're going to probably get rid of some of those heating problems. You're going to fix a problem. I mean, again, then you go back to installation. People are probably going to say, oh, well, it's because, the tournaments are banning them, makes it easier to take them on and off the boat, for tournaments you don't need them. I don't think Garmin cares. I just still go by that because the majority of people that are buying these, believe it or not, are not tournament fishermen and never will fish a tournament. They're out having fun. So I don't think Garmin specifically designs things for that. Do they have in their mind that, hey, this would solve that would make it easier for guys? Sure. But if it didn't make sense, they wouldn't do it. Because if it did, they would have made the 34 with a 7-foot cable, and then we could have just connected the cable and disconnected, kept the black box, right? So that's
next question. Says no more black box. Is this going to pull a bunch more? Like if you're running AGMs and all that odd stuff, is this going to pull more batteries or anything, or is it pretty much exactly the same?
Pretty much same thing. The same thing. Specs on it are identical. I have not had a chance to go through and actually do a true, power draw test on it in full disclosure, but the specs are the same. It's the same size fuse, same thing, everything. And remember, just imagine the black box is just now in the transducer. So it's going to be very, very comparable. Now, I expect when I actually get to do my power calculations and actually do my real world testing, that we're going to run a little bit hotter, but not astronomically. Instead of running 1.5, 1.75 amps, I think we're going to be in the 2 to 2.10, just because we're running different frequencies. Better does usually more, create more power consumption.
So it's like a tower PC to a laptop.
Yeah.
Where you're like, hey, everyone used to have all this, and then all of a sudden it was, hey, look, you can do the same thing that you did with this tower here, but you can okay.
Yes.
Interesting question here. Is a transducer the same size as the Humminbird Mega Live with no black box? Now, like I know that 62 was a big transducer. You can't really tell exactly how big they are. Like what are we working at sizes?
So the 42, the HD is very comparable to the Mega Live. Maybe it's a little bit thicker. It looks like it's this big around. The thickness of it maybe just a smidge bigger. I think that's some heat sinking as well. Just create some striations to help to create more surface area.
Okay.
But it's comparable in size. It's not astronomically bigger. It's not tiny. It's very comparable. The 44 is very comparable to the 34 as well. Maybe just a smidge bigger, but realistically, the first time I physically laid my eyes on it, I kind of had to do double take. I'm like, that's a weird looking 34. And I was like, oh, that's not a 34. Yeah. So it's not like the 62 where you're like, oh my gosh, this is insane.
Okay. That helps. Muddy Water says, I wonder if they fixed the compass sensor issue that a lot of the LV 34s were having. Do you have any idea on any of the troubleshooting, any of the little kind of abnormalities or glitches that we've kind of put up with in the LVS 34s?
So this is my opinion. This
Yes.
this is not, we don't know until we get it out in the field and we've got 10,000 users, 15,000 users, 100,000 users putting hours and hours to truly test it. But I have a hard time believing that they said, hey, we're going to carry this compass issue that we've had on the 34 into this.
There has been some troubleshooting, most likely.
Yeah, and you have to understand that Garmin has never come out and said specifically the 34 has a major compass issue. You can go to all the forums and see that there's plenty of them that have had some issues for sure. But also understand that in the grand scheme of things, that's a fraction of the transducers that are out there.
Correct. Like I've only had minor issues in 5 years with it.
That's right. And so you're always going to hear the guys that are having problems. And I'm not saying they're not having problems. I believe they're legitimate problems because I deal with them every day. But again, if I take the number of problems that I have that I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And then I compare it to the number of them that are out there. It's not even 1%. It's probably not even 0.5%. Now, that doesn't mean that's still not a problem. Garmin wants to fix that. But I believe, my guess is that Garmin got to a point with the 34 that said, we're going to have to physically redesign this to fix this. This is a hardware issue potentially. And so, we can't because we're this close to releasing this new one. So let's just fix it in the new one. I'm hoping that's what it is. But I think it's going to be a huge black eye if we start seeing compass issues right out of the gates. But
yeah, we don't know. There hasn't been out there. No.
That's right.
T Cook, this isn't. I don't want you to address this one. So now you do not have to buy 2 transducers. With the way I'm kind of figuring it is, if you want to, you can trick it out just like you can do now with 360 and 62s and 34s and whatever. But basically what this is if you fish a lot of enclosed stuff, crappie stuff without long casts, if you're not searching for fish, but you already kind of know what you're fishing and you're trying to get a better picture in that brush pile, then the 42 HD is for you. If you're just looking for good overall that you can use up close, but you can also range out further, then the new 44 is probably for you. And it's just kind of whatever suits your style. And if you want to have both, you can have both, just like you could have multiple transducers now. But this kind of is a more realistic option than putting a gigantic 60. What was it? The 62 on that was designed for saltwater.
Yeah. And that's the thing. This isn't new. There's been 3 transducers, and I've seen every combination of 2 34s, a 32 and a 34, a 62 and a 34. And then some guys just say, I want 1 unit and 1 34. Okay. So it gives you options. You don't have to by any stretch of the imagination. But we are fishermen, so we have to because we're fishermen. But you can kind of deck this out. I was talking with a guy last night, and he was like, I want to make this Disneyland, I think is the term he used. Basically, he wanted everything. Now, he has a little different scenario because he has a lot of people that he takes with him, and he had a really fantastic setup, and this is about to get really stupid for him in a fun way, but everyone's going to have their station. Basically, he takes a lot of people out. And so you can get away with 1 transducer, but you nailed it on the head. My crappie guys, if there are any crappie guys listening, or if you like to crappie fish and sometimes bass fish, the 42 is 100% the transducer for you. Not even a question. Because you're not going to run out there to 120 feet. I know too many crappie guys, and they just don't. They don't hunt that way.
Unless you're doing it right.
Unless you're doing it right. That's the other thing. But my average crappie guy that says I like to go hang and drive through stumps, I like to go sit on brush piles, the 42, no question. The 42 HD is no question.
And he's also probably going to put it on the spy pole and have the Garmin deal so he can spot lock and he can put his 42 HD towards that brush pile and sit there and
and pick off crappie all day long.
AM talk radio and drink his coffee and catch his 20 crappie on Lake Eagle.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's the guy. The bass guys are going to have a decision to make. I mean, if you're only going to run one, the bass guys are going to have a decision to make, and I can see the arguments for both.
Mm-hmm. Correct. You do not have to have both.
You do not have to have both, but you could have both. Or just one together. The world is your oyster.
What are we working at on this? Oh, interesting question from Rich. He said, with some of the units processing power and lack of black box, we'll see a noticeable difference in performance between units. I'm assuming that it's compatible with.
So this is a really good question. I'm glad it kind of got brought up because this is a concern of mine. And in full disclosure, I've not had a chance to put it on a 93 UHD2 all the way up to a 9000. I've seen it on higher level units. I've seen it on 1643, a 166, and a 9000 series. And the 9000 series was better. Now, some of that is the 9000 is 4K. Now, none of these, I want to dispel this right now. And this is the funniest comment that I've seen, knowing this was coming, putting two and two together, knowing this was coming. I saw a guy say, oh, Garmin released the 9000s last year. That means the next LiveScope is going to be 4K. That's the reason why they released. That has no bearing. Anyone who says that does not know what they're talking about. Respectfully, you have no clue what you're talking about, because the 9000 series is, again, the GPS map Garmin wants to push to saltwater offshore. Echo map is what they want for freshwater. And then I explained to them, well, you're dealing with fishermen and we want the best, so we're going to live in the
use the salt water for the freshwater.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we're going to do. And it's always a fun conversation, because for the longest time they just scratch their head, Scott, why are you selling these? I'm like, well, because this is what people want, because this is what people. But the 9000 has better processing, but the majority of the processing is inside the transducer. And so what I'm expecting to see is the GPS map continue to perform a little bit better. The echo maps, for the average guy who can't set it side by side with a GPS map like I'm able to do, is not going to notice a difference unless you get into that like 93 range. The 93, like the 9-inch units, I think you're going to struggle with a little bit, just because you currently struggle with them even black box. There's a lag to them. But I think the 9000s, if you, just like anything, if you want the best, you're going to be in the 9000s. But if you want something that's in the middle, you're going to be in that 1643, 1243 GPS map, or the Echo Map 126 or 166.
And what do I have again?
1643 GPS map, 1643 map.
So it's like in the middle.
Yeah, you've got what we call the upper middle class. So the next step is 9,000.
Like that. I can handle that.
Yeah, the next step is 9,000 for you.
Okay. Interesting question here. He said, I've heard some of the pros that would talk about their image degrading during the day. They'd be talking about the black box. Is that actually true?
It could be. I didn't see image degradation throughout the course of the day.
I saw more so like things happening in the water that makes it look like your image is going down, which is things that live in the water that come up to the surface or in a specific column at dark that makes it look like your unit isn't working as good, but really it's like what's actually happening biologically in the water. Yeah,
there's a lot to unpack there. So
when I say bait fish, little micro organisms, water turbidity, things like that is what I'm talking about.
Exactly. So if I just from daylight in the middle of the day, let's say from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. So guaranteed daylight. The only time that I've seen image degradation is when like I would move spots. I'm in clear water, clean water, and then I run into frickin' the Deep Fork River into Eufaula and I'm in mud. Still see, but I have to make some settings changes because there's just more particulates in the water. And then the other is like in the evenings when you get to dusk and all of a sudden my screen just glows. You're like, oh my gosh. And it's all that phytoplankton. It's like you said, biologically things are changing. And then once that blooms out and it kind of calms down middle of the night, I can use it again. The other thing that I see degradation is something we preach all the time. It's always a power problem. I've got a hot battery in the morning. I'm not running a big enough lithium battery or I'm running an AGM or lead acid. I start off at 12.4, 12.5. At the end of the day, I'm down here at 10.8 or 11.1. And they're the guys that say, oh, my battery, I don't need lithium because my unit stays on. Sure, it stays on, but it's not performing to what it can see. So those are the three things that I've seen the most where image degradation. Now, point of, I don't know what you want to call it, but just to kind of make a point, this could tie back to the black box overheating, But at the same time, typically when I've seen black box that have overheated, I didn't want to physically touch them. Like they actually got hot. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to burn me. And that's a totally different animal. That was an installation issue.
Speaking of that install process, to me, this sounds pretty simple. You put the transducer on, you make sure that it's pointed right, and you plug it in. And if you need to, you put a little extension on it. But other than that, that's literally it. You're plugging in a cable into a unit that's on the boat, and you're good to go.
Yep. So this is what's going to come with it. This is the installation process. Put the transducer on trolling motor or whatever you're mounting it to. Route your cable, and then it's going to come to an end. And then on that, we're going to put a cable that has your power cable that splits out positive and negative, black and red. And then the other is going to be that blue net cable we talked about. And then depending on what unit you go to, you either need that little adapter or you plug directly back into the back of your unit. That's it. Simple.
A lot of questions on here. I know you're not the guy to ask this, but your thought process on this. Which transducer will Bass Elite Pros run since they're limited to one? I'll answer the first half of this. I've heard rumors. I'm not even going to say that. I don't like talking about rumors. The tech committee and Bassmaster board reviews rules every year. I'll say that. So they could come back next year, hypothetically, and say no LiveScope. They could come back, or no forward-facing. They could come back and say 3 forward-facing transducers. They could say 2 forward-facing transducers, or they could say 1 forward-facing transducer. So my question would be then for the remainder of the year, and you know this because you work with Elite Series pros, Brian Smith, Andrew Loberg, Austin Cranford. I miss Justin Hamner. I'm missing one of the major ones. Who am I missing?
You don't want me to let's just think about it?
Who am I missing?
Nick Trim. He's my other lead.
Nick
guy.
Trim.
Yeah.
Nick Trim. That's the 5, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Right now, Bassmaster in their rule says these are the approved transducers. You can use one of them. And they have it for the Humminbird, they have it for the Lowrance, and they have it for the Garmin. For the Garmin, it is the LVS 32 and the LVS 34. You cannot use the 62, which is that saltwater version, even though it was available. So for the rules for this year, this is not a 32 or a 34. So the way I'm understanding it is these will not be allowed on Elite Series boats this year. But I do not know that. I do have no idea what Bass is going to do because Elite Series anglers will have access to these before the end of the season. Do you have any hypothesizations unofficial as to what's going to happen?
I do, and what I'm gonna remit back to or use as my school of thought is Lowrance released their XL transducer after the season had started. And they and Bass approved the XL, which was the Active Target 2, and then the Active Target 2 XL was the next step. They allowed it to be used. I could see a world very easily where they go ahead and get this approved. There was probably Garmin didn't just decide last week, oh, by the way, we need to release this 42 and 44. Garmin knew this time last year easily their target date to release this. They may have said, hey, we're going to try to have this ready at the Bassmaster Classic, and if not, we'll go to ICAST or something like that. Garmin knew last year. So I'm be willing to bet that they had conversations with Bass, the powers that be at Bass, that said, hey, next year we're going to release a new transducer, but the season's already going to be started. How can we get it approved? If I'm guessing, I would say that Bass was aware of it with some pretty strong NDAs in there. So they knew it was coming and knew how to handle it. They're not surprised by this. This isn't caught out of left field. That's just my guess. So I would suspect that they could see it get used or get approved.
Do you think both of them will be approved, or do you think that the 42, or do you think that one of them will be not approved?
Now that's the fun part. That's the hey, let's play devil's advocate here. The 62 was not allowed because of the crazy forward range that it allowed.
Which, by the way, the 34 works almost as good. It's just that no one ranged the damn thing out and went, oh my God, you could see stuff at 200 feet on this. It's like, it was crazy. It blew my mind because when I had 2, I did the same thing. I ran one at over 200 feet and still saw stuff out there.
Yeah. You know my opinion on the banning of the 62. Like I just,
anyway, that was way off. But what do you think they're going to do with this?
Maybe I don't know. This is what I don't know. I could see them where they approve both of them. I could see where, hey, we're not going to approve the 44 because it's too close to the 62 with its forward range. Like we banned the 62 because of its extended range. Well, now we've got this 44 that's not only extended range, but it's got pretty dang good clarity out there at that range as well. So we'll let you run the 42, but we're not going to let you run the 44 for this year, and then we'll reevaluate. That's a possibility. Or they could just say, use them both. You know, you can only use one, but you can use either one you want.
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think Bassmaster has a good. I like Bassmaster. This is me, just like Scott. I don't have to do disclaimers a lot. Both had to do disclaimers in this show. I think the 50-50 is working. I like the 50-50. That being said, the single transducer came about before the 50-50 schedule. So there was a everything, then a single transducer, now a 50-50 schedule. I think if I am just looking at what it is, and I'm going to say, okay, well, we're going to have half of them that are forward-facing electronics friendly tournaments and half of them that are not. We're going to flip a coin. We're going to do the same thing. That seems to work. I mean, I live this industry, Scott. I don't see a lot of bitching and moaning about that, to be quite honest. Behind the scenes, some surprising guys are like, yeah, I really like that. Bassmaster Opens, I freaking love it. I love it. I don't care. I don't care that you own the bass tank. I don't care that you rely on technology to say it. I like turning the damn thing off for 2, picking up a Nico or a chatterbait or flipping and doing it. I think I've changed my tune on that. Like I love it.
You're not hurting my feelings.
I know, because I know you do too.
Yep.
But if you're going to have the half of them, why not make it to where it's the best that it could possibly be, and it could actually showcase what it is, and the tech could actually do it. So it would not surprise me if they went back to more. I understand the limit of screen for the perception of what is go. You want it to look like a boat, which if you're going to allow 360 and 53 inches, it still doesn't, because now you still got 3 graphs up front and all sorts of chaos up there. But it would not surprise me if they went back to allowing multiple transducers in 2027 because of the 50-50, and they're going to say, okay, if you're going to do it, then go ahead and freaking do it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That would make sense. I mean, I could see that being a possibility for sure. That would allow, your Humminbird guys to run the Mega 360 with the forward facing with Mega Live. Your Lowrance guys run AT2 and XL together, and now Garmin the 42 and 44 together. It would make sense. I'm with you. I've actually liked the screen restrictions. I mean, there's a safety aspect to it, but also, again, I've kind of been on the soapbox, if you will. I want professional fishing to be in its own class, but not so unattainable, because that's what makes fishing so great, so attractive. Good grief, I can't talk this morning. Attractive to your everyday weekend anglers is they see a path where they can make it here. And don't get me wrong, things are expensive, but when someone's got 10 screens and 15 LiveScopes, you start going, okay, I might as well go try to run Formula One.
Right. But I'm also saying Bass has said, Chase has said that the electronics company has no influence on Bassmaster's decision for technology. I'm just curious if it's like, hey, is Garmin and Lowrance and Humminbird such big companies that they don't give a damn about the couple, the 100 units here and the couple thousand guys that are actually going to go out and do the quote unquote pro setup?
And that's the thing about it. That does not move. I've said this numerous times. That does not move the needle for these companies. One of the biggest statements that I get from a customer, I pick up the phone. One of the biggest statements that I hear the most common is, "I'm not a tournament angler." And I'm like, "Oh, did you see so-and-so caught, whatever Elite Series event going on?"
I have no idea who the hell he is.
Yeah, no. And I'm not trying to dismiss, the Elite Series or Bass or anything. I'm just saying that we see and say this is the pinnacle of our sport and this is the top, but this represents this. Hang on, I don't know if I can get that close. You can still see a little bit of space. That much of the market that these companies are chasing, just period. I run my own numbers and I look at like my market share as a business owner. I have to look at my own market share and I realize, dude, as big as we are, we're still a very small fish in this giant industry. It's just astronomical. Do you think a walleye guy or a crappie guy cares whether Hamner or not caught anything on Gunnersville? No, not really. Not really. They don't care.
All right, I'll get back to the questions. I don't know what I'm running. I have to make that decision. I have to see what the rules are. I have to see what everything is. I'm learning about it literally today on the show with Scott, just like everyone else. Here's what I want to go next, Scott. Have you seen it? How much better is it? What does it actually look like? You see that commercial where it runs and it almost looks like a freaking video game fish in 3D swimming around that you can clearly tell is a bass, where you can see all that stuff. Have you laid eyes on this? Yep. What is your actual experience with it? How good is it? You sell all 3 different brands of it, but what the hell are we actually going to be able to look at?
Yeah. So I've seen them both on the water. I always want to be transparent with everybody. It's not like they let me go out and take it for a week and just play and dial everything in. Mm-hmm. I got about a total of probably an hour that I had to split between the two, which I still saw enough. Excuse me. I still saw enough to know that, I will take my 34 off today and put it in there. In either transducer, both transducers were a step up over the 34. One thing that's really hard that I'm already seeing comments, I can't tell a difference. No, you can't from these graphics for sure. But let's start with the 42 HD and let's kind of break this down into them individually. The 42 for me, when I saw it, one of the biggest things that I saw was, I talked about that bottom separation and things like that. But like going and looking at a stump, right now with the 34, you see a stump, it's sitting right here. And if you look at it from the top, pretend it's got 4 roots coming off of it to create like knees or legs. You can see the shape of that curve, but you can't really tell that's an individual root coming off of that. With the 42, I was looking, I'm like, I can almost see the shadow that root comes off. Like I can almost sketch it, almost like you would sketch it out. And then I'm looking like there's a fish, not a knob, not a blob, I know that's because the arch of there's a little curve. There's an actual fish. There's a bass sitting on the other side of that in between those two.
It looked like a bass on the blob. It didn't look like a blob. The term blob is now, you can tell that it is a bass and not a catfish.
There's going to be a learning curve for that, for sure. Now, once they started moving, you're like, oh, that's a bass. That not like, okay, I know that's a bass because I've stared at this for 10,000 hours and I know that bass,
the blob went at a 45-degree angle and then moved vertically instead of that. And then when it turned, you could tell that it didn't get long, like all the tricks.
Exactly. Like, I'm not saying it's so easy that I can just put it in front of whoever today and then be like, oh, okay. But dang, like if you've been chasing, if you know a little bit of fish behavior and tendencies, you're going to instantly be like, oh, that's a bass. That's a catfish. That's a sand bass. That is a ball of bait. Here's the other thing that was really interesting to me. Sorry, I know I'm squirreling, but this is kind of exciting.
No. This is what the people want to hear.
So, we've all seen the ball of bait, just random ball of bait swimming in the water.
Yep.
and it looks like this glowing ball of bait.
Yep.
I kept looking around. I'm like, where are these balls of bait at? I see these small balls, what I would call that I could count individual fish in there. And then it hit me. Scott, this is what the 34 would look like, would be glowing, but now you can see the individual fish. You can actually see there's only a little bit of separation. I can count the number of shad that were in that ball. And now I'm sure that if I had more time, I'm going to find that mega school, obviously.
You're talking about the, I know exactly. I know, I probably maybe know exactly where you tested this.
You know exactly. You know.
Based on what you just said.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. But it was very interesting
that you looked at.
Shut up, Matt. But no, that was something that I had to kind of step back.
42 HD, the LVS 42 HD.
Yeah, this was for the 42 HD. And so then I started watching the way fish behaved. And one thing that I let's kind of get off in the weeds here because it's what your listeners like. Going back to the 32, 20-degree beam, the 34, 20-degree beam, the 42, 20-degree beam. But inside that beam, there was a sweet spot. You've heard me talk about this. The 32, I did a lot of testing and research and just some crazy math. And about 24 inches was the sweet spot. That means that when my bait was falling and glowing, the same intensity as that fish, I might be offset 24 inches. With the 34, that was closer to like 10 inches. So that means bait falling, I might only missing by this much as opposed to this much. This 42, that's even smaller. And so I can already hear the calls I'm going to get. Scott, I can't track my bait. No, you can track your bait. You just can't, you're just not being accurate. And there's going to be
to when everyone went with the 0-degree transducers. And
that helped.
And I went out and went, hey, our LiveScopes are broken. And then we realized, no, they're not. We just have to dial it in. And then now it's, yeah. Okay.
That's exactly right. So there's going to be a learning curve for that. Even with the 44, it's still tighter than the 34, but not as tight. I think that's how they clean that up as they continue to make that sweet spot more and more precise. You almost have to be able to get that separation. And so there's going to be a learning curve, but it's one that I'm more than willing to do. The other thing that I want to point out before I jump over to the 44, and this track, this is kind of maybe a lead into the 44, 42 and 44. If you're a 32 or a 40 or 34 user now, you can't take your settings and say, my gain was here, my color gain was here, my reverse range was this, my noise reject was this, and go, oh, let me just copy those settings. That's not going to be the case. We will do a settings video as we get to, again, full transparency, it's not like I've got to just play with every setting under the sun. I had a limited amount of time that I could.
The 42 HD, it's not, the fish aren't 3D.
No,
you can't see the dorsal fins on them. There's no way that you can like lock on and then it shows you where to cast and all. Like,
no. Even with the spy pole, even if you have the spy pole and the full, you can't say, hey, Garmin, cast that fish. Hey, Garmin, lock on to fish 3. Lock on to 10-pound bass. Go find me.
Okay. No, so I ask you this from the 32 to the 34. You told me before when I switched, you said the 34 is way better than the 32, but you'll still catch roughly the same amount of fish on the 32 if you're really good with the 32 that you would with the 34. Now you've got the 34 to the 42.
Yeah.
Everyone that's listened to watch this, and this conversation will be obsolete in 4 months when this thing's out. But if you've gone through the jump from the 32 to the 34, how would you compare the jump from the 32 to the 34, from the 34 to the 42 HD?
So the 32 to the 34, you're exactly right. We had this conversation of if you know what you're doing, you can. You're not going to be, it may be a little bit easier, but you're still going to catch the same amount of fish. The jump here to me is much more significant because you're now going to see more fish. You and I both have been, we've been in the boat together numerous times. And we talk about, one of the problems that people have is being able to see fish in standing timber against the stump on the
That's
bottom.
the biggest thing right now too is blind minnowing out of the rocks, where you're using the rock that you're using the forward facing to find the type of rock that you're pulling the fish out of, and you're catching fish that other people aren't targeting because those fish aren't visible. Yeah.
Based on what I've seen, that learning curve has gotten shorter.
Gotcha.
Now, you still have to throw accurately at those spots. You still have to, work the bait correctly, but now going through a stump field or a standing timber or on the rocks, it's much easier to be like, there's a fish there and I need to throw at it.
Okay, so Shawnee Twin in the New Lakes, there's been a school of gigantic somethings in one part of the lake for the last 4 years. Cranford and I cannot for the life of us figure out what the hell they are. It's almost to the point where I'm getting night crawlers to go out there and figure out what it is. With this 42 HD. Now, they look like bass blobs to us, but they kind of sometimes act like it, and then sometimes kind of don't, and every once in a while we'll catch one, but they're always there. They're always big. They're not gar, because like even on the 34s, you can see the gar.
Yeah.
Can you take this new transducer out and instead of just having large, slow-moving blobs all around, actually kind of figure out what shape the fish are? Is it that much better?
Based on what I've seen so far, yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking about. And
are those lethargic bass that are just
exactly
not biting, or are they drum, or are they grouped up walleye, like that type of stuff, like where you spend less time casting at trash fish, non-bass.
I think that's going to be the big thing. I think you're going to spend less time casting and testing waters to, I believe this, because we all know, like, there's certain times you're like 100% that's a bass. There's other times you're like, I'm pretty sure that's a bass, but I can't say for sure. Then there's other times, then the other side of it is that's a trash fish, guaranteed trash fish. There's sometimes in certain range, certain angles that just like, these fish are behaving like sentient beings that know what they're doing, and you just do what they want.
Okay.
I believe that learning curve is going to be much shorter based on what I've seen. I mean, I'm literally making a list of places to go, of fish that I've seen that are consistently there, that I'm like, I'm going to take this there and see if I can figure out what that is.
What's really interesting to me, though, is a lot of the best live scopers in the world, and we're doing that show with Ben Milliken and Jody White here very shortly, the top 10 live scopers in the world right now that are fishing at a professional level, is their whole thing is they're catching fish on scope that you cannot differentiate and cannot see on scope until they bite.
Yeah.
Wondering, in your opinion, if this is legal in it, does that take an edge away from the shallow contour scopers? I mean, we're at the point now where everybody can go see one floating out there, cast to it. And I mean, I'm not going to say that. We're even almost to the point now where you can koiki trees and almost anybody, or a dock or anything. But I'm talking about the real subtle nuance stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Those guys.
I think that it's like any new technique, that the guys that figure it out first are always going to have an edge because they understood.
Okay. So there'll be something with this transducers once they make legal that they'll figure out that everyone else doesn't figure out. But the other guys will be like, oh, you could see the fish in the stumps, or you could see them there. And then they'll be like, oh, we're not going to tell them what. I got you. All right, let's look at that was the 42 HD. Let's just talk about the standard, 44?
44, yeah. So they call it the 44 because I think this is just an iteration, a step up from the 34. That's how, if you notice how Garmin does things, they just advance it that way. And so the 44, if you've got a 34, I can speak to you. If you've got a 32, I'm kind of speaking some Greek to you, because either one of these transducers are going to blow your freaking mind, just plain and simple. If you're going from a 32 to this, you're just going to be, wow, I don't even know what to do. But for the guys that have a 34, think of what it looks like at 60 feet, that clarity at 60 feet. Now take that same clarity and cover it out to 110, 120, 130, even in certain areas. It's pretty good. Still have the blobbish, not as.
But you can see a bass in a standing timber 120 feet away that on the 34 you can only see at 50, 60 feet away.
Correct. Now, again, full transparency, it's not like I got to go running you know where I was looking at this at.
Yes.
It's not like I got to go run around a bunch of standing timber to to look at.
But you did look at a pile 100 feet away and could tell whether. And
I
it looked like
that was something I was like, okay, and I could. The piles look like piles, but at the same time I could see more branches. That was one thing. Not to jump back to the 42, but this kind of ties into it. Looking at that same pile at 80 feet with a 42, I could tell you that this branch went up and then went like this. It's almost like I could see the Christmas tree. And what I mean by that is the number of jigs and spoons and crappie jigs that have been lost in that. It wasn't quite that, but it felt like, I'm like, am I looking at a bait hanging from that? Like it was like there's several times I had to do a double take. I'm like, is my mind eyes playing?
That was with the 42 HD.
That was a 42. With the 44, I could still see that tree and those piles, and I could still make out the majority of the branches, kind of like just what you could with the 34, but I could do it much further, And so I would just put the trolling motor in reverse and just backed up and just kept looking at it, and I'd get out to that 110, 120, and then I'd start to see it kind of. Start losing some structure, if you would.
So the ideal setup then, if you're not tournament fishing or anything, is you find it at the big one, you say there's something there I want to go look at, you frickin' troll over there, and then you look at it with the 42 HD, and then it gives you what you want, and then you've got the best of both worlds. A seamless transition. 2 screens, 2 transducers, one's a 44, one's a 42 HD.
Yeah, for sure.
I see what you're saying. But here's the next question then. What you're going to end up is guys who, when they go to blueback fisheries, long cast fisheries, smallmouth fisheries, open water fisheries, are going to, assuming that both are legal or that you're legal, or if that's what you primarily do, then it's obviously you're going to want the 44. But if you're at a brush pile lake, a flipping lake, an up close lake, you're looking up under docks, you've got that stuff, then you're going to want the 42 HD.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's simple enough to where you could literally, if you could only use one transducer, just like you're saying, hey, I'm putting a 4-blade on for the big water or 5-blade on for the big water, I'm going to say, hey, I want the 42 HD at Santee and I want the 44 at Champlain. Yeah.
The way the cable, when I talked about the dongle, the adapter, the power cable, and the blue net cable that connects to the transducer is the same cable. Yeah.
I mean, am I right? Am I right on this stuff?
So it's going to be real easy because I apologize. I don't know who it was, but they asked the question, what are the Elite Series guys going to run? Then we kind of got off track, but to kind of swing back to that real quick, that's where I was going to go with this. I think it depends on where they fish. I think if they're on, I don't know what the rest of their schedule is. I know they go up north.
Champlain, no scope, Thousand Islands with scope.
So Thousand Islands,
for a couple months.
Yeah. If this gets approved, let's pretend that both are approved for the rest of the year. Thousand Islands, I can't imagine that guys are not going to be running the 44 because of the range that they're going to want to run at. Compared to if you go somewhere like Okeechobee, that's a grass lake that you don't have the ability you can't see 200 feet unless you're out there chasing. Wait, can I say things like this? Sorry, I got to be careful. I don't want anything to be public knowledge. I don't want to get you in trouble. You're not on Okeechobee, are you?
No.
Okay. All right. Dude, in this world, I don't want to accidentally say something.
As far as I know, I'm not off limits for anything right now.
Random grass lake, not in any specific state that is shallow.
Okeechobee. You're talking about Okeechobee. We're good on Okeechobee.
So, that is typically a shallow water lake.
Yes.
You're not going to range out there to 200 feet unless you're out there running in the middle of the lake, but then you're kind of spitting in the wind. That as well. You're going to be in the grass. That's where you're going to run something like the 42. You're on Fork, for example, or a similar lake like that with a lot of standing timber.
Work really good on Fork because then you could see which trees have the fish and then go into the 42 HD and do it. Okay, here's the thing I haven't talked about yet. All these other transducers, you can flip them sideways. You have perspective mode and all that stuff. What's the deal on these things as far as perspective mode and the range on that? And I have no clue. Am I barking up the wrong tree there?
No, not at all. Again, full transparency. With the limited time that I had, I didn't get to go play with perspective. However, I know people that are running and they send me screen video, not the marketing stuff. They send me actual screen recordings. This is my screen. And I'm like, God, that's so good. To kind of tie this into it, one of the big advantages with the Lowrance XL transducer was in the scout mode, which is equal to Garmin perspective mode.
Dude,
I was like, man, this
badass. It was so badass in the boat that I was recently just in that I was like, my God, I would consider running in certain tournaments a Lowrance scout mode out at 100 feet.
100%. These, based on the screen images that I'm seeing, not from the marketing department, but from guys that are actually using it, from people that are actually using it, this is going to rival that, and in some ways better, because there is still
we're talking shadows. We're talking 100 feet. We're talking being able to see fish up on a freaking ledge or out there that you can't even see with your LiveScope.
With better stitching. That was one of my drawbacks of the XL. Not the saying it wasn't amazing, because it was, but there's still a little bit of stitching issues in the scout mode. Very, very usable. By far, in my opinion, the best scout perspective out there until this. I am really excited to get it in my hands, to actually get to play with it, because based on the screen recordings, I'm like, this hurts my feelings. This is really, really good. And so more to come for sure, but I'm excited because, I'm seeing ranges out there to 85, 95, 100 feet that I'm like, this looks really, really good.
The beat down, the Fish Obsessed, all those mounts and stuff. Are these companies all going to have to remake and rebuild all their 0 degree mounts for these transducers?
They are.
Is that just Garmin that's Garmin being like Apple, isn't it?
No, it's not. There's a specific reason. You think about the 32, for example. Garmin learned something with the 32 that they implemented changes in the 34. Hey, this needs to be right here. Same thing with this. They changed. Garmin doesn't. Not that they care if people make aftermarket products. They've been doing that for years.
It's just not first and foremost to make it the most convenient.
They just don't care. We're going to do what we're going to do, and if you want to follow suit, so be it. You take the beat down, for example. All they've got to do, the way their mount is made, all they got to do is change one piece, and the rest of it will function just fine. And so they tried to call me yesterday, and I'm sure they had this same question. So I'm sure I'll work with them to come up with that change. The Fish Obsessed, for example, which has been a great mount for sure. Again, he's just going to have to change one coupling. The arm itself will work. Mm-hmm. Just like if someone because we do this all the time. Someone says, "Hey, I bought the Fish Obsessed from you, and I had a 32, but now I'm going to buy the 34 from you. What do I need to do?" Dude, you need this one coupling, this $50 piece. For the Fish Obsessed style, it's easier because it all comes apart. The beat down, they're just going to have to replace that because they don't let us replace it. That's not field replaceable.
So what Blake's saying is, he said, so I will not be able to use the 0 degree for the new 42 HD right away.
No, because the factory is a 0 degree.
Interesting.
Yep.
The factory one that comes from Garmin will be a 0 degree now.
Yes. Unless they change something in the box. From what I got to see and play with, it's a 0 degree out of the box.
So the 0 degree then for the aftermarket will be the micro adjustments that you can make. That when you hit something, it's not going to break. It's going to have a better break. Okay, so there's still that.
There's always going to be an aftermarket.
Yeah.
Period.
Next question. What happens to the LVS 34s and the black boxes and that stuff right now? I mean, that's still a very viable quality product, but we see LVS 34s become, I mean, I have it right here on yours. I mean, you have an LVS 34 in black box for $15.99 right here.
Yep. Basically, Garmin has taken them off MRP, meaning, hey, you can sell them for what you want. And so, some guys had an overstock and they're taking a bath on them to try to move them. I don't. I've got, I try to order better, if you will. And so, I've got a few in stock and I'll make a little bit, but I'm not making much money on that. But, just try to clear them out. I expect that we'll see a letter of obsolescence for 34. They're not going to do it until these start really shipping. But I'm going to tell you something very interesting. This shows you how intelligent or in tune to trends that the industry is, that consumers are. Usually when we do this and there's a sale, like people just rush and get the deal. People were aware enough of this that they didn't come rush and buy the 34. They said, oh, something new's coming. I'm going to wait for the new thing. It's been really interesting. June was a very, very interesting month for us. We've had our normal sales, but at the same time, like it shifted from LiveScope systems to just other stuff, like almost like they were prepping their units for what was coming. They're prepping their systems. Like, hey, I'm going to buy a graph. I'll come back and buy a LiveScope after ICAST. I know what you're saying.
That's literally what I said to you.
Yep. That's
because I picked up the new boat in a week and a half, and 5 months ago I said, listen, I intentionally ran this boat to the point where I would be turning it in around mid-year 2026 because of rumors that I had heard, and I don't know. I'll say this also. I should have said this at the very beginning. Not sponsored by Lowrance, not sponsored by Humminbird, not sponsored by Garmin. Consider all three extremely viable, high-quality products. You know that there's a chance that I will be running a Garmin, a Humminbird, and a Lowrance this year, not getting paid by any of those companies. The only one that we ever have gotten paid by was Lowrance, and that hasn't happened since 2022.
Yeah.
So this isn't this. I literally have no. What is the dog in this fight?
Affiliation, true affiliation.
No affiliation, true affiliation.
Yeah.
Now I'm open to that changing, but it's also very nice for it not to. And me and you have had this discussion because I can come on and use the phrase LiveScope and Active Target and 360 and Scout and Perspective and not have a call to be like, hey man, you know, you really got to use the term Scout instead of Perspective there because that. So it's actually worked out quite nicely. But I just wanted to. I don't have a dog in this fight. No, you do not. And it makes it easier for me to come on and talk about everything as well, by the way, because I don't want to get you in trouble. Yeah. Price wise, $21.99 for the LVS 42 HD, $1,999 for the LiveScope 2. So $2,000 and $2,200 for it. Yep. If you have one of those compatible units like you have there, literally $2,200. If not, then you're $5,000 in, $4,000 in. If you have to buy a new unit that's compatible and stuff with it. Yeah. Pretty standard. I mean, price wise, that to me wasn't shocking. Like I thought, okay, that's a lot of money, but it's not like, oh my God, the new transducer is $4,000. Right.
And I had some concerns when I saw it for the first time. Again, I didn't know, I didn't have a SKU. I didn't have a price point. You know, this is what it is. I don't know much about it, you know, and it was one of those things where it was like, man, I hope this isn't a $3,000 or $4,000 transducer. You know, of course I was hoping, I personally was hoping it was a $1,500 transducer because there's no black box, but there is a black box that's just inside the transducer. So the amount of research and R&D and manufacturing, you know, this isn't, yes, everything's expensive, but this is not so astronomical that I think it's going to price everybody out of the market. This is certainly something that, based on the number of calls we fielded yesterday, I would tell you that this is going to be something that is, people are not all that concerned about it, you know.
We kind of touched on screens in the first part of the show. Go back, Scott talked about all of the screens that it was or was not compatible with. Let's just say you're getting into this for the first time. You don't currently have a screen or anything. Give me a bare minimum. Give me kind of like what I have, which is the middle, upper, kind of the standard, and then give me the aspirational. Money is no object. This is the screen that I want if you're going to start out with the 42 or the 44. So
when I have a customer call me and they're trying to get in this, the way we go through it is, you know, I always say, guys, do you have a budget in mind? Because I don't want to ever be outside of that budget, below or above that. You know, someone may come and say, man, Scott, I don't have a budget. Money's no object. Cool. We can have this conversation. Other time people come and say, man, I've got to be all in transducer, you know, system and screen for $4,000. Okay, now I know what to go, and I'm going to get you in the best possible for that. and go from there. This is what happens. I get guys that come in, they say, I just want the cheapest. I'm going to get a 9-inch screen and a 34. And within 30 to 60 days, every one of like 90% of those people come back to me and say, I should have listened to you. I should have bought the bigger screen. If they buy a 10-inch unit, within 6 months, they're like, I should have bought the 12. I'll be calling you back here in 6 months to, when I put some money together, buy a 12. I should have listened to you. Okay. The guys that buy a 12, I don't hear from them until they say, I want that 16. That's every day, same conversation. I wish I could clone myself and having that conversation so I didn't have to have this exact same conversations, because that's how they go. I mean, it just does. Now, do you have to have a 16-inch screen? Absolutely not. And so I think the question was, I'm wanting a better screen. I need a relativity, I need a reference point. Where are you at? If you're a 9-inch, man, we can jump to a 10 and your world's going to change. But I'm going to tell you, my mantra is always buy the biggest screen you can afford, because I've never had someone buy a 12 or a 16 and say, man, I wish I would have bought a 10 or a 9.
I'll say this. I've started with a 9. I went to a 10. I went to a 12. Now I've had a 16. If you can afford it, the 16.
Yep. Do
I feel like I catch more fish because of a 16? No. Do I feel, well, no. The answer is no. Is it easier to identify what's going on? Yes. Do I feel like I catch more fish on a 12 than a 9 or a 10? 100% yes. Yeah. Because of just what you're looking at and what you're seeing.
What I saw when I went from the 12 to the 16, because I didn't instantly jump into a 16. And
neither did I. I've been a year and a half in it.
Yeah, and I jumped. You went to it because you saw mine. You're like, oh crap. Okay, I know now. And I was the same way. I only put it on there because it was a new 16. I'm like, I need to go demo this for customers. And then the first time I went out, I felt like I was looking at the lake for the first time again. And it's a lake I knew very well, because there were things that I was missing because they were more zoomed in, and I'll touch on this real quick, just because, well, you gave me the microphone. I'm going to talk about it. I get the question of which screen is the clearest, and we're talking about the 34 right now, obviously, because that's what we've had, versus what can I see more? And those are two different things. A 16 is not going to look as clear as a 10-inch, and it's because everything you're seeing more on that 16 because things are zoomed in. Even though it's a higher aspect ratio, higher definition, the 10 is more condensed, and it's like looking across the room at a picture. That picture is going to look more clear from across the room than if you walked up to it and you can see the brush strokes. If there's a painting there, you can actually see the brush strokes. You can see the flaws in it, but I can see more because I'm zoomed in. I want that. I want to see more. I want those things to be expanded, because what if that flaw was a knob on a tree and that knob turned out to be a fish? If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so that's why I like the bigger units. As we step up, we see more and more and more. And when I jumped from a 12 to a 16, I was like, oh my gosh, I've been missing stuff. I do feel like I catch more fish with a 16 because I'm able to see more fish that I call are ghost fish, the shadow fish that are just outside of that sweet spot, still inside the 20 degree, but they're just outside that sweet spot. I can kind of see a fade of them. On the 12, because it was zoomed in on the 16, I could see them, whereas the 12 I stand up to fish, I'm like, I didn't see them. But now on the 16, I see those. I'm like, let me pan over. Oh, there's a fish. Let me get it. Now I am talking about open water fish for sure there. Standing timber the same way, though. It's easier to identify the fish on the trees, in my opinion. So I feel like I do catch more fish. Is it double, triple? No, but 10, 15% more, probably. That's my guess.
That's fair. I'll go with that.
Okay.
I agree. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. I haven't taken a break. I'm sitting here trying to be like, okay, here's what we're going into next. And I feel like we've pretty much, for what we've known without just beginning to bloviate at this point.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. When are these going to be available?
So according to Garmin, they've got one shipment setting in the warehouse right now. Now that could be 5, that could be 5,000. Don't know. Supposedly they were going to start allocating and going, but talking with them yesterday, they're saying July 17th is when they're actually going to start shipping.
Soon.
Yeah, that's a week from Friday. That's the other differential of other manufacturers. I've had a lot of extensive conversations knowing this is coming. Let's do some simple math. It doesn't take a genius. I don't need the rumor mill. I don't need inside information to just do simple math. The 32 came out summer of 2018. Spring of 22, that's 4 years, by the way, for those that can count. I know you don't like math on the show, but we're going to do it real quick. That's 4 years, 2022, 2018. Well, guess what? If you add 4 to 2022, what do you get, Matt? Come on, you can do that math.
It's right now.
2026.
Right now, 2026, yeah.
So it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense.
Fortunately, there won't be any bass left to catch in 2030, so the new update will just show us what's not there. They'll all have been caught. They'll all have been removed. There won't be any tournament fishing. It'll just, the world will be apocalyptic. The only thing we'll be doing is just going out and just reminiscing about the old days when there used to be a fish in the lake.
But one thing that I'll say is that with the 32, I remember the conversations I had with Garmin. They didn't know what the uptake was going to be on the LBS 32. We were ordering 500 at a time. And they're like, you can't sell 500. We're not even going to sell 500 in the first year. And I remember a conversation that I point blank had. I said, you drop 500 on my doorstep tomorrow, I'll have them sold in a month. Like, are you kidding me right now? Mm-hmm. And so they had one machine, if you will, one line making this. And so that's why it was so far behind. The 34, I think they underestimated how big it was going to be. They're like, oh, it's just a new thing. People will adopt it. And so they were far behind with it. They know what this is going to be. I think they're much better prepared. Are they going to give me all of them that I ordered yesterday in one fell swoop? No, not a chance. There's no way. Even if I was their absolute golden-haired, Scott, you get all of them, I don't think there's enough of them available for that. What I do believe is they're going to give us heavy doses. I think they're going to, once they start shipping, we're going to see 10, 20, every week, every other week, where we're just going to keep rolling and chewing these up pretty quickly. Now, do I think that in October you can call me and immediately have them in stock? Don't know. I would love that.
But you have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea. But I expect to start shipping very, very, very quickly.
I like it. I learned a lot. Of all 230 plus people that are on live here, like I was learning right along with all of them. Because the conversations that I've had with it are what you see today. Yeah.
Well, you and I, when I get it on my boat, you and I will get out and
I don't know, like if you were, what is that called? If you sign something, you're not allowed to talk about it.
I'm under an NDA, of course.
You were damn good with the NDA, Scott, because I was prying and I had absolutely no idea that this is dropping.
Yeah. Now,
those wondering, Scott follows his NDAs.
Well, but here's the other thing. I want to make this very clear. No one gave me inside information.
Right.
The people that I know that work with Garmin and at Garmin are very good about keeping me in my lane. Now, they also know that I'm not dumb. And so they know how to just, if I start heading down a path that they know that they can't talk about, they just like, Scott, we need to redirect. And I respect that boundary because I don't want to get them in trouble because, so no one ever discloses anything that they're not supposed to. Yeah. But they also know I'm not dumb. And I know, again, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just saying I've done this long enough. I know how these things go. And I start coming up with conspiracies. And it is, by the way, it is really fun to toy with my Garmin peeps, I like to call them, and my reps across the board.
I mean, it's just once you're in it long enough, like you knew without a doubt before you had heard anything, you didn't need to have anyone that like Crush City was going to come out with an urchin baited iCast.
Exactly. But I ask questions, because I'm like, hey, not to get off topic here, but talk about the spy pole. I've been saying for years, like, why on earth with Garmin not having their foot pedals not wired, why could you not have a motorized turret, essentially, that you could still use the foot pedal control? I don't want switches for a turret. I don't. That annoys me. I want to be able to use my foot pedal while it's in anchor mode, spot lock, to still look around. And the funniest thing, I'm gonna tell on him because even he did really good in not disclosing anything. I found this out after fact. Just so any Garmin people that are hearing this, I found this out after the fact. Hamner had actually come to did some testing for the spy pole. He lets me know he's in town. Let's get together, do some content. Cool. He doesn't tell me why he's there. Just I'm doing photo shoot, and that's what they do. Okay, cool. I'm like, man, you're in my backyard. Let's get together and do some stuff. So we're out fishing, and I'm on his boat, and he's down there doing hammer things, retying stuff, and I actually get to run the trolling motor. And he'd put it in anchor mode, spot lock. And I jumped up there, and I go to move, just take off. And normally, whenever you hit the go button, it would just take off. You don't have to actually take it out of anchor mode. Yeah. And it didn't react. I'm like, dude, what's wrong with your foot pedal? And he said, oh, they did an update on it. And I turned, I looked at him real quick, like, why would that? And his eyes got about this big. And he looked at him and said, Scott, please don't ask me anymore. Because he was under another NDA. He couldn't talk about it. He didn't have the spy pole on at that time. But come to find out later, after it was released, he goes, remember when you asked me that? And I told you not to push?
He was asking about that. He had it in that mode.
Yeah, he was like, dude, well, it wasn't that it was in that mode. It was just that it was updated. They didn't roll the update back. So that's how his trolling motor was from that point. But he told me, he said, I knew you were going to figure it out because you'd been talking about wanting something like this. And my wheels are also spinning. And that's kind of how I started piecing together.
They have a mode where they make the Garmin trolling motor feel like a Minn Kota. Can you put it into Minn Kota mode?
I don't think they will ever call it that.
I like all the features of it, but it just doesn't feel the same.
This is a, I don't know.
If you could put it into what is it, Quest mode?
Yeah, I don't think they would call it Quest mode. I mean, look, I love the Quest. I think the Quest is a great motor. I love my Force. I don't know why you hate it so much. I can scope just as well as anybody else.
No, you can't. It doesn't feel the same.
But at the same time,
I think it's like hockey sticks. There's some guys you're like, how do you use that curve? Yeah. And then other guys are like, like you're you have like a certain pattern or curve or flex that you like, and that's just what feels right to you.
Yeah, I mean, literally, when I get into a boat with a not just limited to the Quest, by the way, I get in the boat with a Move or a Ghost. I'm like, God, this sucks. But the reality is, it's because I'm used to putting my foot on that Force every day, and it wouldn't take me long if I literally just played with it every day and used it extensively.
There's a couple that would.
Well, yeah.
Moving on. I will say this. So, I got a discount on them. I still had to pay for them.
Yeah.
But I got hooked up with the Bubba stuff from you.
Yeah.
And I was a late adopter to the Bubba system.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be honest, I ain't tried the pliers and the nets and all that stuff. I used the Spro and the Gamakatsu ones on that. But you have a giant wall of Bubba stuff. And I picked out some Bubba items last year, end of last year, beginning of this year.
Yeah.
And I thought they were outlandishly expensive. This is me completely on it. Not sponsored by Bubba at all. This Pro Series Smartfish scale is like one of the coolest things that I've ever seen on Earth. You can do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fish modes. It automatically calls for you. It does everything. I know I'm way behind the curve on this. I know this is me being like, hey guys, there's this thing called LiveScope. You should try it. You see everyone holding it. But I promise you, there's also guys that are listening to this that don't have this.
Yeah.
It is worth the $224.95, and I never thought I would say that about a scale.
Yeah.
Especially when you get it in combination with, these are way overpriced, but they work because they match with the number and the colors and all that stuff. And I haven't had them come off fish, and they don't break, and they work just fine. For $61.99. They should be $30, but they are $60. That's me saying it, not you. Don't say anything. That's me as BTL saying it. But I still, in combination, those cull clips with that scale, like, I understand why Cranford's always out and doing all that stuff, because you can do like, okay, I'm going to try to catch 15 pounds today, or I'm going to try to catch whatever and all that. And then the scale keeps it all for you.
Yeah.
If you're looking for some accessories that aren't a giant transducer or anything, I highly recommend the Bubba Pro Series Smartfish scale.
One thing I want to throw to throw in there because I never thought this. You showed a picture of it that I think it's the scalpel knife. I don't know. It's some knife, and that has been the handiest little knife. That one right there, yeah, the Sculpin Snips. Like I was like, man, and they said like, hey, try this out. This has been very popular, dude. That is the handiest little pocket knife. Like, and it's got a good edge on it. Like, I cut boxes with it, and it's like a box knife. It keeps a good edge on it. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not just boxes, but I use it for a little bit of everything. That is just the handiest little knife. Sorry, that's Tommy
Biffle Signature Series Edition.
Okay.
Anyway, so there's 3 different versions. I've tried all 3. There's this, the Smart Fish Lite. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's $69. I have no issues with it. I thought I didn't need the better one. Then I legitimately got the Smart Fish scale at 112.
Yep.
It's similar to the other one, but it doesn't have all the like nice features and stuff on it that the other one does. And then I legitimately went up to the Pro Series and was like, oh, this is easy.
That's
like
the deal.
If you fish any tournament, especially if you're up north or you cull a lot or you're around fish where you catch a lot of fish that are a lot of different weight or anything, this will legitimately save you an hour a day in your tournaments.
Yeah.
Because you put it on there. It says, you weigh it. Let's say you've got 5, you've got them all color coded, and then it'll automatically cull your smallest one and tell you which one to cull. You don't have to touch them ever again.
Yep. It's they did it right. I mean, you can talk about the price of it. That's fine, but at the same time, like they did it right. It is a good product.
Yeah, they're gonna link with Garmin next, and then you can see the 5 fish that you're looking at and what their total weight is. Which one you need to catch to cull.
You laugh, but I'm not laughing because that is not that far away. I'll just say it that way.
Where they're going to be able to tell based on the return, the average size of the fish, and then it's going to tell you what the.
I mean, what I see.
You can tell now. You can say, "Hey, that one's over 6."
Yeah, I mean, I think with the scales, I think they're going to have a. The easiest way to do it would be do like a NEMA gateway, wirelessly communicate with the NEMA gateway, and then just tie it in because NEMA is a standard protocol across all marine devices. And so it's I don't think it's that far away before we can actually display that stuff on our screen and keep it in. I mean, like on your cat, do you have the touchpad? Like mine's actually got a culling system on it. I'm like, I don't. Okay, no,
I'm so
nice.
I'm turning in the 24 next week. Which, by the way, we have to do it like Scott and I. We're in some serious. It's very so. New cat comes in. Hopefully in like 10 days. I leave for the Bass Nation Regional on Champlain on the 22nd or 23rd. I have to pick that cat up on the 19th, but I'm not sure if it's going to get done because Cat gives their guys a break in July. They always have. It's tradition after 4th of July. They get a week where they shut it down. So then I'll get a call. This is just behind the scenes of what goes on a daily basis where it's like, Scott, I have to have this boat unrigged and unwrapped today so I can get it to Arkansas to pick the new one up and bring this one back. But then that requires beat down, pro guide, the bass tank stuff, all sorts of back end stuff to get it rigged. I'm also going with a Yamaha, which I haven't cranked a Yamaha since my Series 2 VMAX 150 carbureted that was on a 2007 ZX 190 that had over 1,000 hours on it. So I've got to get used to whatever the hell that entails on breaking in a new motor and then drive it all the way up to Champlain, trusting that it's all dialed. Not with you, just with new stuff. Like I'd like to get some hours on it. So
absolutely,
it's either going to be chaos or I just need to get with you and make sure that my 34 is dialed the back in for where I'm headed because it's all jacked up because I've had no scope and scope, and I know that my stuff is cattywampus because I hit it on a tree and I've got a little bit of rocking going on.
That ain't good.
Just a doctor's appointment is what I need.
You need a doctor's appointment, yeah.
I either need like basically like an entire like heart transfer or just a checkup. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We'll talk off screen to figure out some
anything that you need. Boat accessories, longtime sponsor of BTL. You see it on Cranford Boat, all the stuff on my boat, everything it is, regardless of what you need on it here. The bass tank, you can check in a lot of different accessories, all the newest stuff. Do not ask questions about how to install things that you bought at other places. I'll just flat out say it at this point. Like, I think you're to the point where you could say that, but yeah, I mean, there's no one else who I could ask this who I feel confident knows as much about something that's as new as it is without getting someone from Garmin who helped in the development on it. Any other thing as of July 8th, there's no one else out there that's talking about it that knows more than what you just learned in the past hour and a half. Is that a fair assessment?
I feel that's pretty fair. I feel that's pretty fair. And look, there's still some things I'm going to learn about it. I don't want everyone to think that I've just had this for a year and I know everything about it top to bottom, but you guys know that I'm going to figure that out. And so I'm excited about it because there's going to be some things that there's going to be a learning curve for myself. Are you going to like take one and crack it open and see what it looks like inside and how they put the black box inside and all that? I will at some point. You're going to
sacrifice one, aren't you?
Yeah. Not until I can actually start shipping them in mass. But at some point, that I'm going to have that thing out there just cooking. Now, I suspect they poured it. It's hermetically sealed with potting material. And so I'll have to not only cut it open, but keep digging. And it's not like it's going to come open. There's going to be a void in there. I doubt that's going to be the case.
Oh, guess what I was able to put together yesterday? I was very proud of myself. It sat for a year and I was a little nervous because it required some assembly and it required multiple things. I put together a pressure washer.
Have you used it since you put it together?
Yes, we used it yesterday. On the driveway, it worked flawlessly. I had my wife cord out pressure washing while I was weed eating. I was actually exceptionally proud of myself.
I'm very proud of you because I was afraid you were going to say I put it together, then in the middle of it, hoses blew out.
It works amazingly.
And she got mad at you because she got soaked from it.
Cleanest cement on the street right now.
Hey, you can come do my driveway next. Now you've got a pressure washer. Is that a sign that we're getting older, that we're excited about a freaking pressure washer?
Listen, you don't even want to know what yesterday entailed. So yesterday I didn't do a show, so we slept until 9, latest either of us has slept in years.
Yeah.
Then we got up. I got a new skincare routine, so I did that. then we loaded up, and Court needed to go to the post office. So we went to the post office. Then from the post office, we went to Costco. So we did the Costco run. When we got to Costco, there was some good marbling on the strips and on the ribeyes. So usually it's like 1 in 5 times we go, do I find a pack that I'm pleased with. So after Costco, we came home, and then I had to break out the vacuum sealer so I could vacuum seal the extra meat that I had purchased to put in.
Yeah.
Then I went and finished mowing the yard, broke the weed eater out, set up the power washer. Court went and ran some more errands. Then she came back, started a sourdough loaf. And while she started that, pressure washed the cement while I finished trimming and edging. And then we watched the latest episode of Love Island on Peacock, and then went to bed.
That sounds like a very adultish day. Welcome to married life and being an adult, I guess, right? I mean, that's very, very responsible of you. Very responsible of you. You know what? Here, let me tell you what I did, just real quick. My synapses is much quicker. Woke up at 4:45, found an Easter egg on Garmin's website at 5:05. Spent all day, on the phone. My phone started ringing at 5:30 yesterday a.m., by the way, just so you know. People that have my phone, there were people that called me that I have no idea. This is the craziest thing to me. There were people I feel like I'm a pretty nice guy. You also know I'm not a morning person, but I'd had my coffee at that point, so I was okay. But there were people that called me before 6 a.m. that I did not have saved in my phone. I don't know how they got my number. It's not like you calling me at 5:30 in the morning, Scott, I'm having problems, right? Like, I may not like it, but I'm going to answer.
Which has only happened once.
Correct, I think.
Which was my fault.
Yeah,
that was when I had it up at Leech and I had it in down mode, trying to look forward, and then I will put that on you. You never said, hey, you assumed that I knew what mode my transducer was in. Right. It was just 2 clicks. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, but I had a couple of people call me that I don't know how they got my phone number, my personal phone, not the business, my personal phone number, wanting to know about this new transducer. I'm like, dude, I don't even know you. You're not an existing customer. Like,
I'm selling it on BTL. I told
that was okay. That
makes sense. If you Venmo me $50, I give you Scott Palmer's personal cell phone number.
Can I get a cut of that? But anyway, from there, I came to the office, got here early, and then I left. I got home about 10 o'clock last night, and I did not get a single thing that I had planned to do yesterday done because we were on the phone, full team on the phone all day long yesterday. It was absolutely insane. So, see, not as exciting as your adult responsibility day.
How are we looking for, let me see how I say this. How are we looking for a major bass tank announcement in the next 12 months?
Really good.
Potentially.
95 percentile range.
Okay, we'll just leave it at that. That's all I need to know.
Yeah, that's all you need to know right now. But it's super exciting. But 95 percentile.
All right, anything else before I let you go here? We're an hour and 42 minutes in. We've kept like 250 people on it.
The only thing I'm going to ask you, this is a rare occasion, just so everyone knows I got a full head of hair. Do I need a haircut?
No, I like it.
I don't. There you go. There's a real. Hang on. Let me re-hang it. There you go.
That's right. You don't. Do you dye your hair?
No.
How old are you?
43.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We're a little bit of gray hair.
I've got it. I don't have it yet, but I'm waiting every single day for it. I'm shocked I still have hair.
Yeah. I'm.
Are you going to iCast?
Yeah.
Yeah. You probably need to get a cut before iCast. I'd get that trimmed up before iCast.
Well, as soon as we get off here,
Lululemon dress pants, the comfy shoes,
exactly,
my polo, and get that trimmed up a little.
Yeah, get my Gucci wallet, that type. I'm that bougie, whatever. Thank you, Cam. I saw that. I do have luscious locks. But I'm going to go get them trimmed. As soon as we get done here, that's where I'm going. I got a haircut as soon as I get done this because I've missed the appointment or whatever, the walk-in twice now.
No iCast for me this year. However, I will be here while iCast is going on. I'm going to be doing things with Best on Tour as far as doing specific days. So like the plan is, hey, today we're going to look at all the plastics. Today we're going to look at all the hard baits. Yep. Today we're going to look at accessories or whatever. Dave Rush from Best on Tour is going to do that. So we will be live from iCast. It'll just be me in studio, which actually is probably more beneficial for seeing what's at iCast. Let me know if there is any opportunity for you to jump on for a segment from Humminbird, from Lowrance, from Garmin, anything that you think. So, I know you're busy, you're working on it. You're there as a person trying to see what needs to be in the bass tank and learn about it and stuff. But if there's an opportunity to get you for half an hour to kind of walk through and actually show some stuff, just let me know.
Sounds good. Good show. Show.
Thanks, Scott.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. All right. There you go. Scott Palmer from the Bass Tank. I think we're just going to end it at that. No controversy. Just that's what it is. That's what's coming. And that's what we know about it from Garmin. Day 4 tomorrow with Frank Scalish. We'll talk to everyone later. See ya.